What's up, Mets? Welcome back to Talking Mets with Love, or welcome to Mets Talk Live here on the Mets Talk Show. Before a huge series against the Los Angeles Dodgers. Welcome to CMWR Football. Everybody is enjoying that football. Nobody has to worry about football watching. Nobody has to worry about all the Mets are still running. So we have to worry about the team that's going today because of the last game. Before a huge series against the Los Angeles Dodgers. And the start in September with the Los Angeles Dodgers. Best team, I think, in Major League Baseball. I'll even go. Sorry about that. Give me a second. Alrighty. Is that sounding better, guys? Alright. Sorry about that, guys. Alright, guys. So, with that being said, let's start over for a second. So, welcome back to the channel. Don't forget to please hit on that like button and welcome to Mets Talk Live. So, on this off day, the Braves are off. The Mets are off. We don't have to worry about scoreboard watching today. We don't have to worry about can the Mets hit today. Is Lindor actually going to get a base hit? Is Lindor going to actually do something over the last handful of games? He hasn't done much at all. But the Mets continue to keep their 3-game lead, even though they lost yesterday because the Braves lost the last 2 games in a row in some horrible fashion. That's a game where in game 2 against the Cardinals, they should have won. They were up 4-1. They lost that game. Yesterday, they were up, then they were down, then they came back, and then the late innings heroics happened again. Minter looked like he couldn't get anybody out, gave up 2 bombs to give the Cardinals a tie game, and then taking a 3-run lead. Once again, can we stop talking about the Braves are coming, and how about the Mets are actually that good? Because if you look at the Braves' record against 500 teams, it's not very good. The reason why the Mets are in first place is because they have a better season record against the Braves and against the Philadelphia Phillies. It's just funny how everybody's like, oh, the Mets aren't that good. The Mets are lucky. The Mets are this. The Mets are that. When it comes down to everything that we have to talk about, it is the Braves aren't that good against the Phillies. They're 500 against the Phillies. Against 500 teams, they're not that good. I believe they're only a couple of games over 500 when the Mets are around 12 to 13 games over 500. And it always seems like the disrespect the Mets get, but yet when you listen to ESPN yesterday, the Braves are one of the best teams, they think are the best team in baseball. That's the way they see it. That's the way ESPN thinks about it. That's what they said yesterday in the ESPN game against the Cardinals. Yet the Mets get no respect since they've been in first place nearly all year. And every time the Braves got close to us, they find a way to not pass us. And until they do, until it's the exact same record and they're tied for the division, then they can talk about taking the division. But until then, can they actually beat a team that's over 500? And for everybody who went crazy yesterday that the Mets lost 1-0 against the Rockies, the Dodgers can't beat Pittsburgh. You've seen other teams around the league lose to really bad teams. You've seen the Padres lose. You've seen all these teams that are in first place or in a playoff spot losing to terrible teams. Did you see what the Yankees did the last 2 days against the Oakland Athletics, who, let's be honest, should be and is the worst team in baseball? They were throwing a minor league team out there. At least bad teams like the Rockies and like the Royals and name other bad teams, the Tigers, you can go on and on, actually have major leaguers on that team. Who is the only major leaguer the A's have on a team? Murphy, the catcher? Other than that, they're all minor leaguers. So for people who are going crazy about the Mets losing to the Rockies, everybody, and I put up a poll before the series against the Rockies, how many games do you think the Mets will win, and would you be happy if the Mets take 3 out of 4? A lot of people, around 90 games. would have took 3 out of 4. It's just that when you win the first 3 games, everybody gets a little ahead of themselves and be like, oh, we got to sweep the series now. We got to take 4. That's bullcrap. What the Mets have done all year, and the reason why they've been in first place almost the entire season, is because they take series. Not because they like, would you like to have a 9, 10, 11 game winning streak? Absolutely. Would you like a sweep of 4 game series? Absolutely. But guess what? Sweeping a 4 game series is not as easy as everybody thinks. And the Rockies, considering the fact that they're one of the worst teams in baseball, they actually got a decent amount of major leaguers on that team. No excuse for yesterday. The Mets should have at least got 2 runs in that bowl game. But guess what? Marquez, who is an ace, hasn't performed well this year, had his ace stuff yesterday. And the Mets have been struggling for the most part offensively. And look what happened. Those games happen. But for anybody who continues to disrespect the Mets, it's not funny. It's so funny how people can't give credit to the Mets, but have no problem saying, oh, the Dodgers, the Braves, this and that. The Dodgers, who do they really have competing in that Western Division? Seriously. The Padres are a joke. They're always a joke. They choke every year. They get everybody and their mother on that team, and they still can't win. You know, for everybody who disrespects the Mets, can you disrespect the San Diego Padres for continuing to not be the team that everybody expects them to be? And then on top of that, you have a Giants team that played well over their head last year and came falling down the earth this year. And everybody continues to, oh, the Dodgers. Well, guess what? The Dodgers aren't very good against 500 teams either. Just so everybody knows. They get to play the Diamondbacks all the time. They get to play the Rockies all the time. I'm sorry. But if you look at the West and you look at the East, look how many teams are going to make the playoffs in the East, considering in the West. Because at the moment, the Padres might not even make the playoffs. And yet 3 teams in the NL East are going to probably make the playoffs. Before we go crazy, and Steve, I just saw your comment there. We won 3 out of 4 without basically hitting on all cylinders. And that is huge. The Mets done this all year. When we're not hitting, they find ways to take series, to win ball games that they're not hitting. It's beyond annoying that everybody is going crazy. And oh, by the way, Gonsolin just went on the IL with right forearm tightness, which is probably a big sign of possibly Tommy John surgery. Let's hope not. I don't like seeing people injured, even if it's a team that I want the Mets to beat. But Gonsolin wasn't pitching in this series anyway. But he was supposed to pitch tonight against the Marlins. But I don't like to see people get injured. But that's a huge loss for the Dodgers. And granted, he might be okay. It might be just a strain. He might be back in time for the playoffs. That's fine. But just think, he might be out. If he's on the IL 2 weeks, say, that means he has to ramp back up and get ready for the playoffs. There's no guarantee that he's going to be the same pitcher he was after he comes back. And Andrew Heaney is pitching tomorrow against the Mets with Taijuan Walker on the mound. We also have DeGrom on the mound, and we also have Bassett on the mound. So the Mets, I think, have the pitching matchups set and a better pitching matchup in this series than the Dodgers do. Again, that might mean absolutely nothing, but for everybody who continues to give the Dodgers credit, who choke every year except for the pandemic season, remember that. They're a team that spend the most money in baseball for many years now. They make the playoffs every year, yet they got over the hump in the 60-game season. The same thing goes for the Atlanta Braves. They finally got over the hump last year in a full season. Why I give them more credit than I do the Dodgers. The Braves winning all those divisions in a row in the 90s and early 2000s got 1 championship. They choked over every year as well. It's fine. And you know what? The Mets, I get why people are not giving the Mets credit, but when the Mets don't get credit because of their history, makes no sense. Just like the Royals, when they won their World Series, nobody were giving them credit before they won the World Series, right? They didn't talk about their history. The same thing that goes for the Braves. Nobody talked about their history. Oh, the Braves. Wonderful. But remember, last year doesn't matter. 1986 doesn't matter. The 90s don't matter. Shoot, yesterday does not matter. What matters is what happens this year and who gets hot at the right time. For all we know, the Philadelphia Phillies can make the playoffs as a third wildcard team, get hot at the right time, and win the World Series. Nobody knows. So for everybody who thinks that their team's going to win the World Series, and that's including Met fans, that's including Dodger fans, that's including Braves fans, the team least expected that nobody thinks is going to win the World Series, maybe it might be the Minnesota Twins. You never know. Maybe it'll be the Cleveland Guardians. Nobody knows. But let me know who put money down on the Washington Nationals in 2019, who skimmed into the playoffs and won the World Series. The same thing with the Braves last year. Nobody picked the Braves to make the World Series or even win it for that matter. Everybody was picking the Astros, the Yankees, this team, that team. Nobody was picking the Braves. So before everybody that goes crazy about the best team in baseball, the best team that looks great, look at the roster, look at the salaries, look at the payroll. Nobody cares. Nobody. What it comes down to is that is your roster healthy? And do you get hot at the right time? Now, if you look at the rosters, let's look at the rosters. Best rotation in baseball. Everybody healthy. I'm talking about Dodgers rotation is healthy. Mets rotation is healthy. Phillies rotation is healthy. Yankees, Astros, on and on and on and on and on. When you put Scherzer and DeGrom against anybody in baseball, it's going to be very hard to pick two pitchers that are better than them. And granted, Scherzer looked great yesterday against the Rockies. Struggled in his previous 2 to 3 starts. DeGrom has been somewhat human. Actually gave up some hits, a couple of runs. But it's very hard to think that the Mets don't have a chance to win based on those two pitchers. And oh, by the way, nobody can match the number 3 in Chris Bassett. And even if you want to throw Carrasco and Walker in there, if the Mets want to go through a 4-man rotation in a 7-game series, there's nobody that can really match that. And you can go on ERAs, you can go on that. But why is it, if you look at the Dodgers record against 500 teams, it's not very good. They beat up on the bad teams. And I mean, their record is amazing against really bad teams. Subpar 500 teams. Amazing. The Mets have one of the best records against 500 teams, over 500 teams. That's key. So for everybody who keeps on killing the Mets, look in the mirror if you're a Dodgers fan. Look in the mirror if you're a Braves fan. Braves fans have a little bit leg at the stand up because they're World Series champions. But again, last year means absolutely nothing compared to this year. Last year, this time, the Braves took over the NL East. I'm still waiting. There's a month left. Come on. Let's go. The Braves are 500 against the Phillies. The Braves are not very good against teams that are over 500. Really good teams. They're not that good against. We have to continue to understand the Mets are a really good team. The Mets are a different team. The Mets didn't have Buck last year. Oh, guess what? They didn't have Bassett, Scherzer, or DeGrom last year, but nobody wants to bring up that because the Mets choked last year. No. The Mets were never a good team last year. For everybody and the same people who continue to say, oh, the Mets are bad. The Mets are terrible. The Mets are choke artists last year. They weren't. They were not. They didn't choke last year. They had nobody on their roster. They were done. As soon as DeGrom didn't come back after the All-Star break, it was over for the Mets. They had no rotation. Carrasco didn't come back until the middle of August. Walker was one of the worst pitchers in baseball in the second half. That's the difference. The difference is we got Buck. We didn't have Marte. We didn't have Kana. We didn't have Alonso having a great season. McNeil is back to McNeil. It's all of the difference. That is the difference with this team. Every time somebody thought the Mets are going to fall apart, they win 5 out of 7, 6 out of 7, 8 out of 10. They just went through a stretch where they were 18-9. Like it's not the end of the world. And for the people now, just think, the Mets continued to hold first place when the Braves went on their crazy winning streak, and then played over 700 baseball since June 1st. Yet the Mets were still in first place, no less than a game and a half. Give the Mets a little bit of credit if you're not a Mets fan. Mets fan, some might be realistic, some might be optimistic, pessimistic, but no Mets fans can think that this is a bad team. Do they have bad games? Yes. Is Lindor in a slump? Absolutely. But Lindor is one of the guys that got us to 82 wins. I'm not killing Lindor. It's just when Lindor comes up in big spots against the Yankees, against the Rockies, you want to see a little bit more. But again, he's been great this year. I can't kill that guy. But this is who I'm going to kill. Billy Epler. And this is a few reasons why. And we're going to talk about it a little bit. And I'm going to continue to beat the drum on this. And for everybody who talked about Vogelback and Ruff and Naquin, look at their career numbers, guys. Look at their career numbers. Why do these guys jump around from team to team? Why do these guys are not mainstays in the lineup? Why do these guys get traded if they're so good? Vogelback has been pretty good this year for the Mets when he came over in the trade. Ruff hasn't hit a home run as a Met. He hasn't been good. He hasn't been crushing lefties as everybody just says his stats warranted. Naquin, first week as a Met was excellent. Ever since, garbage. Vogelback was very good when he first came, then was consistent, and now is not that good. And here you go. Why isn't Vogelback and Ruff and Naquin a big piece to this lineup? Well, guess what? There's a reason why these guys are 220 hitters. You don't think teams that had Vogelback and Ruff, or let's start with Vogelback, you don't think a team that had Vogelback DH him against only right-handers? Yes, he did. Yes, they did. What about Ruff? You don't think the Giants only put him in games against left-handers? Of course they did. Yet they still remain 220, 230 hitters because that's what they are. They're not difference makers. Vogelback is a nice player, a nice DH, because that's what he is. Daniel Ruff, a nice DH. Somebody who can, pop a home run here or there. Vogelback can't run, can't field. He's a DH. If he doesn't hit a home run or a ball in the gap, he's probably not doing anything else. And for a power hitter, which the Mets needed, oh, by the way, the guy takes a lot of pitches. We're not looking for an on-base guy. And this is the other problem that I have with Billy Epler. When you're looking for a DH, and this is why I wanted Trey Mancini. This is why I know JD Martinez has been bad. Maybe it would have been different if it was a different scenario for JD Martinez. But man, no, I'm not complaining about a 36 games over 500. I was trying to calm people down about losing one game against the Rockies. But what I'm trying to bring up, see, you can critique a team and still think this team is one of the best teams in baseball. The problem with a lot of Mets fans, and Ken, you're one of them too, they tend to say, oh, they're 36 games over 500. Great. Just because they're 36 games over 500 doesn't mean they're a perfect team, by far. With Vogelback and Ruff and Naquin, these guys are not difference makers. They can be solid when they're doing well. But you see the flaw in Vogelback. Vogelback takes way too many pitches. We don't need this guy to get on base, all right? That's what we got Nimmo for. That's what we got Marte for. That's what we got Canna for. That's why we got McNeil for. We don't need Vogelback to take walks. This guy's got to swing more. And whatever analytical department he needs to talk to, or whatever the hitting coach needs to talk about, whatever Chavez needs to talk about with him, they got to sit him down and say, listen, we love that you're an on-base guy. Maybe when you need a walk late in the game when we're down the run, all right, fine. You want to get on base. All right, you want to work the count, fine. But when you're down by 2 runs and you got 2 men on base, can you swing the bat? How many times this year do you see him take a 2-1 pitch right down the effing middle? It's insane. That shouldn't happen. We brought you in to provide power, not to take walks. At least Ruff, I know he's not been good with the Mets after his first 2 or 3 games, but he hasn't hit a home run. That's why we got him, because he crushes left-handers. Well, I'm still waiting for him to crush a left-hander because he hasn't. Nate Quinn, he went in a 10 at-bat stretch where he struck out 10 times in a row. You can't have that. And I'm sorry. For everybody, I know Vogelback has been a sensation here. Just because he's a fat guy that plays baseball and hits home runs occasionally, take off the rose-colored glasses, Met fans. This is why Trey Mancini, who can hit righties and lefties, JD Martinez, who can hit righties and lefties. You want to name another DH bat that you thought the Mets could have got? I wanted a bat that could be in the lineup every single day who can hit righties or lefties. I'm not saying a guy, a DH guy a bat that can hit right-handers that have 290 against right-handers, 290 against left-handers. It's just that. It's not even that. It's just the fact that I wanted a consistent bat who you can put in the lineup every day, because guess what, guys? Do you think Buck Showalter is going to put Daniel Vogelback in if he's 10 for his last 10 with 5 home runs if there's a lefty in the next day? No, Daniel Ruff's going to play. That's the problem that I have. And I understand Vogelback has a tender hamstring. Well, guess what? Don't play him then at all. If it's affecting his hitting, he's useless. And it's clearly, it seemed like it is. Then you know what? Put him on the IL. Bring up Dominic Smith. Or bring up Mark Vientos. Clearly, he's been hitting. But why haven't the Mets bring up Mark Vientos yet? I don't know why. I don't know. Beatty's not the greatest defensive player in the world. He kind of throws just like J.D. Davis. Have you noticed the way he double clutches as well? He scares the hell out of me when he throws the ball. But I'm sorry. I'm sorry. If we continue, and I don't want to hear about Wilson Contreras either. Who knows how much difference that would have made? I mean, he probably wouldn't have been catching that much anyway. He was definitely better than what we have. I give you that. Yeah, but it's not the point. The Mets love Vientos, but they still don't want to bring him up. They made Beatty jump over Vientos when Beatty wasn't even ready defensively, and they still brought him up over Vientos. You're going to tell me Vientos is worse defensively than Beatty? I mean, come on. It's just crazy to me that a team that's 36 games over 500, who is leading the NL East by 3 games with 33 games to go, yet we still got this massive hole at DH. And it's crazy to me. It's insane to me. Now, I don't think Beatty's completely ready yet. He's got a beautiful swing, but he still needs time he needs baseball time in the minors. He needs a little bit more time. And I understand why the Mets brought him up, but if Vientos' bat is so ready for Major League Baseball, for the pros, bring him up. How much worse can he be? Is he a complete butcher at third base? Because something's up. Why the Mets haven't bring up Vientos at all? He was supposed to come up. He was supposed to come up with the big club when they moved up north after spring training. That didn't happen. The Mets were terrible at third base and DH the entire year. Vientos still wasn't an option. Yet the Mets was trying to find a third baseman / DH that can play every day. It's crazy to me. And it's like, I just don't understand it. And that's the reason why everybody who said, oh, you can't trade Mark Vientos for an Andrew Chafin or a David Robinson or whatever other reliever that was pretty damn solid that the Mets could have got. We keeping Mark Vientos to win the minor league MVP? I'm so happy for him. So happy for Syracuse. No. I'm sorry. It's annoying that the fact that we keep this guy who is a glorified DH. He has no position. He's not going to be the Mets third baseman anytime soon because of Beatty. He ain't playing second base. He ain't playing first base because of Alonso. He ain't playing any outfield position because he's not a very good outfielder either. he's our number 5th ranked prospect because the Mets farm system isn't great. They got a lot of young guys in the system. And the reason why he's number 5 is because, well, look who's number 6, 7, 8, and 9. And by next year, Parada, Ramirez, you can go on and on and on. By next year, Mark Vientos is lucky to still be in the top 10 for as good as the Mets draft was this year. Because the 2 guys they drafted are going to be in the top 10 and probably going to push Vientos out of the top 5 very easily. It's just insane to me. It's very insane to me. And it's not about the Mets being a good team. They are a really good team. One of the best teams in baseball. That's not the problem. But every team, the Houston Astros, the Los Angeles Dodgers, the New York Mets. Did you see what Minter did yesterday against the Cardinals? Couldn't get anybody out. Everybody got flaws. As good as the team is, the Mets, the Braves, the Dodgers, the Giants, the Yankees, or the Astros, they all got flaws. And guess what? There's a lot of first-place teams in there, aren't there? You know, even the Cardinals, as good as they have been and probably going to win the NL Central, their starting pitching isn't that good. Everybody has issues. The problem is the Mets had the pieces to go get a big arm for the bullpen and even a big bat who is consistently going to hit righties and lefties. Not just one guy that can hit righties and one guy that can hit lefties. That doesn't make sense. That platoon doesn't work. Not when you have 220 hitters. And that's what they are. You know, to trade J.D. Davis, not saying J.D. Davis was the end-all be-all, but you traded 3 lower-level prospects and J.D. Davis for Darren Ruff. You're going to tell me that you couldn't get Andrew Chafin or Robinson for J.D. Davis and 3 prospects? Why not? It's crazy. And then everybody's going to bring up McGill and Peterson and possibly Joey Lucchesi. Great. We're gonna rely on a guy who's coming back for Tommy John and Joey Lucchesi, who possibly might be up in September. Urza, I get it. We have the potential, but the Dodgers, the Braves, the Cardinals, the Astros, the Yankees, the Twins, they all got potential to win the World Series. You make the playoffs, you have potential. You have a chance. It makes no sense to me when I hear Epler a couple of days before the trade deadline that there's a big amount of relievers available. I forgot his exact words. Wasn't abundance? I think he said something like that. But he made it seem like there was so many relievers that they had to go out and get Vogel back and get Nate Quinn and get Ruff. But you get Givens. Clearly, it was a panic move by Epler. Because it happened 1 minute before the deadline that the Mets got Givens. And he is not very good. And he wasn't before he was with the Mets. I'm sorry. It's just not – it's just – when you have a team – put it this way. If the Mets fans see that we're one of the best teams in baseball, we're really that good, that the Mets have a chance with DeGrom and Scherzer at the top of their rotation. And with Lindor and Alonso having really great years. And Marte having another year like the back of his baseball card. And Canna, who's having a career year, by the way. I mean, he's hitting 40 points over his career average. He's playing excellent this year. And oh, by the way, Epler got Nate Quinn because Canna was struggling and they didn't think Canna can handle having the left field job by himself. That's why they got Nate Quinn, to get that platoon in left field that Betts left-handed. What they kind of do after they got Nate Quinn, he's been one of the Mets' best players offensively since the deadline. Yippee. Vogel. So he's slugging 524 on base percentage. Can we throw that out of the way? He's batting 262. Okay, that's great. Okay, Vogelback stats versus right-handers. 262 on base, 377, 524. That's fine. But guess what? What has he done? What has he done with the Mets? He was batting over 300 when he was with the Mets. Already back down to his 260 average against right-handers. If he's the basher against right-handers, why is he batting 290 against right-handers? But you know what? Alonso plays every day. So taking a platoon player, which Vogelback is, who doesn't play every day, and putting his stats against Alonso is funny. I'm sorry. Alonso plays every day. I'm sorry. I'm not going to get a 220 hitter, and that's what Vogelback is. Just because he's good against one guy. And remember, we got Vogelback for power, not to take pitches. So on base is irrelevant to me. Yippee, it doesn't matter. He's not doing exactly what the Mets got him for. Why did the Mets get a new DH? If that's the case, why didn't you just have J.D. Davis and Dominic Smith at DH then? He can't hit lefties. So if, like I said, Yippee, you just joined us. If Vogelback is 10 for 10 in his last 10 at-bats with 5 home runs, there's a lefty on the mound tomorrow. Who's playing? Who's in the lineup? Vogelback or Ruff? It ain't going to be Vogelback. That's a problem. That's why platooning is stupid for the DH spot. It makes no sense when you could have a guy like Trey Mancini who can hit lefties and righties. I guarantee you, Trey Mancini can hit 260 against righties and 260s against lefties. I'm sorry. Vogelback is not Alonso and he's not Trout. Okay, so that's funny. I'm sorry. It doesn't work. It does not work. The platoon doesn't work at DH. It does not. I'm sorry. If you're playing the Dodgers, oh, great, we are. Look at that. Andrew Haney is pitching tomorrow, lefty. Guess who the other lefty's pitching? There's 2 lefties in the series against the Mets. 2 lefties. Vogelback's not going to play 2 out of the 3 games. He's not starting. What does that tell you? Again, who cares about having Trump and Alonso numbers against right-handers? Let's be honest. I trust Alonso and Trout against right-handers than more again with Vogelback at the plate. If you're going to compare Vogelback to Alonso and Trout, that's the problem. I'm sorry. It's just, I'm sorry. You can't do that. You can't do that. Again, Vogelback is not going to start in 2 or 3 of these games against the Dodgers because there's 2 lefties on the mound for the Dodgers. I'm sorry. That does not work for me. It's stupid. It's the Moneyball mindset, because that's exactly what it was. Hold on to our prospects and let's get creative. That's Moneyball. Okay, but I admitted McNeil, and nobody can say that McNeil was going to have a bounce back season like he did. He struggled for 2 years. I didn't complain about Lindor. I said Lindor's going through a slump. That's it. And I just gave Lindor and Alonso credit. But you're telling me Vogelback and Alonso are like on the same path of like greatness. I mean, come on. Okay, yippee. So Vogelback is just as good as Trout and Alonso, yet Vogelback can't stay on one team for more than 3 years. Why isn't everybody clamoring to get Vogelback? There's a couple of teams that needed a DH. And oh my God, Daniel Ruff. God, I can't wait to see him against another lefty and not hit a home run. Because that's why we got him, right? When you crush right-handers and crush left-handers, I got to see more. Ruff hasn't had a home run as a Met yet. Yet he only plays against left-handers. Why hasn't he crushed left-handers? Vogelback has not crushed right-handers. If 260 is crushing right-handers, then I don't know what to tell you. But again, Vogelback is not going to start in 2 out of the 3 games because he can't hit lefties. That's a problem. I'm not gonna go McNeil about his hammies. It was more of the fact of the stupid philosophy that the Mets have last year when it came to, remember, the philosophy in 2020 and 2021 was hit home runs and launch angle, and that's why McNeil's swing is all messed up last year. And I truly thought, and you guys can go back and look at that, I truly thought that the Mets plan or how they approach the plate with their players the last 2 years hurt a lot of these plays. I think it hurt J.D. Davis. I think it hurt Dominic Smith. And I think it hurt Jeff McNeil the most out of everybody. And I didn't think Jeff McNeil, I thought they damaged him enough where he wasn't going to go back to his well over 300 average. And thank God he has. But it has nothing to do about bashing Jeff McNeil. There's people on here that bashed a lot of players on this team and thought they weren't going to have the same year or a good year. And there's many of us have done that. And can anybody thought Diaz was going to have one of the greatest seasons a closer ever have? No. Nobody can say that. Can anybody predict that Seth Lugo wasn't going to be as good as he was in years past? No. You can't compare Mike Trout with multiple MVPs, an NL Rookie of the Year, a home run derby champion, and a guy who is going to be in top 3 in the MVP voting this year to Vogelback. That's hilarious. I'm sorry, you can't do that. Again, let me know when Vogelback is playing in this series against the Dodgers. Once, when there's a right-hander, that's a problem. So now we have to rely on Ruff, who's done nothing as a Met. And I'm still waiting on his home run. He has the same amount of home runs as Nito. All right? When you crush left-handers and crush right-handers, you got to do more power-wise. Okay, Yippee, you're just not paying attention. Okay, they use him against right-handers. Again, he's slugging .524. That's beautiful. Not with the Mets. He is not slugging .524 with the Mets. His stats for the year are .524. I can guarantee you it was over 600 when the Mets traded for him. I'm sorry. It doesn't work. Vogelback is not starting tomorrow against Haney, the left-hander. It's just, he's not. Like, we can go over the pitching matchups. Let's go over the pitching matchups. I think that's fun. Andrew Haney tomorrow with an under 2 ERA. Lefty. Guess who's not playing tomorrow? Daniel Vogelback. Daniel Ruff is going to be probably behind Pete Alonso, just like he always is. I'm sorry. And then let's go tomorrow. Let's see. Look, tomorrow. Tyler Anderson. Oh, another lefty. Vogelback's not playing tomorrow. I'm glad he's back. He's slugging .524 when he can't play. He can't start the game. He can't start game 1 or game 2 against the Dodgers. I'm sorry. No. When you get the guy who crushes righties, but he can't play the first 2 games against the Dodgers, that's a problem. That's why when you get a DH, you got to get a consistent DH. Somebody who can play every day at DH. That can hit righties and lefties for the most part consistently. Daniel Ruff is going to start 2 out of these 3 games. Yeah, Vogelback is going to get a pinch hitting appearance late in games if the Mets are behind or the game is tied, and you got to get a base hit. Well, why do I want Vogelback to get a base hit? Why do I want him to pinch hit to get a base hit? We didn't trade for him to get a base hit. We traded for him to hit home runs. And I'm not saying you got to hit a home run every time. That's stupid. But you know what it is? It's common sense that the Mets had the worst DH throughout the entire year before the deadline. Vogelback and Ruff, first week, they went insane. Vogelback with the home runs, big hits. Ruff, couple of big games. No home runs, but he had a couple of big games. And then Vogelback came back to earth a little bit. Granted, he's on a bad hamstring. But if it's affecting his hitting, which is the only thing he can do, is put him on the IL. Bring up somebody else. I mean, I just don't get it. And I'd rather see Mark Vientos as the right-handed platoon with Vogelback than trading J.D. Davis and 3 prospects for Ruff. That's insane to me. I just don't get that part. And like I said, I love Vogelback. I enjoy that he's playing his fat boy mentality, and he hits dingers and donuts and all that. It's fun. It's great. It's a good time. It gets the fans riled up. He always gets a big ovation. It's great. Well, Keto, that's nice. But if we're going to continue to keep these guys like Vientos and Mauricio down who have no spot on this team and nowhere to play, then they should have traded them this year when his team has a chance to win a World Series. Not in the offseason when who knows if the Mets are going to have a similar season like they did this year. So it's weird. That's crazy to me. Now, that doesn't mean the Mets can't win a World Series. That doesn't mean the Mets can't take 2 out of 3 against the Dodgers. You know what? Vogelback can have a pinch hit appearance to hit a home run to put the Mets in the lead. But it doesn't fix the fact that Vogelback is not starting in these first 2 games because of Haney and Anderson, 2 lefties in game 1 and game 2. Vogelback could be sitting on the bench when Ruff is getting the 2 starts. Because Epler and whoever else makes these decisions decided to go with a platoon at DH. And oh, by the way, didn't think Canna was good enough, so let's get Naquin as a lefty platoon with Canna because Canna has been struggling, yet Naquin is also terrible, and Canna has shown you why he's a professional ball player. I just don't get it. Like, I don't want to see stats, and then Yippee was giving me. Now, you didn't even check the Mets stats with Vogelback, but you're going on his stats for the year. Then if he was so good, why would it treat Tatum? I mean, he's under control. He's not making a lot of money. It's crazy to me. And I do expect Vogelback to hit some home runs. I do expect Ruff to be a little bit better. But these guys are not 270 hitters. They're not. I'm sorry, guys. They're not. And once again, if Vogelback goes 10 for 10 with 5 home runs and is a lefty on the mound tomorrow, he's on the bench. That shouldn't happen to a batter who is 10 for 10 with 5 home runs with 10 RBIs. You don't sit those guys. When they're hot, you keep them in. Buck's shown that. When Naquin had a good game the other day, he played him against a lefty. Usually he doesn't do that. Guess what? When Canna was hot in the Philly series, and then you kept him when he was a righty on the mound. Usually he would put Naquin in that spot, but Canna was hot. He kept him in there. You're not keeping Vogelback in against a lefty when he can't hit left-handers. If he's 10 for 10 with 5 home runs and 10 RBIs, he's just not doing that. That's not an upgrade at DH. I'm sorry. It's not. But with the Dodgers series, you got Haney and you got Anderson, and I believe the next game they got a to be determined for that. But the Mets, they got Walker, they got DeGrom, they got Bassett. Solid pitcher in Walker. We'll see what Walker can do. Walker seems to be a hit or miss, even though he's been very good this year. I can see Walker giving up 6 runs. I can see Walker giving up no runs. But he's had a good year, so I'm not going to kill him. DeGrom is DeGrom. You know, I'm telling you guys right now, I'm going to the game tomorrow. I'm not going to the DeGrom game on Wednesday. I'm telling you, Wednesday, if Jacob DeGrom doesn't pitch between 90 and 100 pitches, I'm going to be very pissed. Ken, that's what I'm doing. I'm doing a Beetlejuice reference. Thank you for catching that. Thank you. I was trying for that. But then again, he's not going to go 10 for 10 because he ain't playing the first 2 games because of the lefties on the mound. So it's pointless. But Ken, I'm glad you picked that up. I was waiting for somebody to bring up a Beetlejuice reference. If you say it 3 times, it might come to fruition. It might show up. But thank you, Ken. I'm glad you. So I was waiting for that. I was gonna keep saying it until somebody brought up some type of Beetlejuice reference. Thank you. I don't know. I was feeling old for a second there. Not many people were figuring that out. You know what is funny? I was watching Beetlejuice the other day, and I just thought of that, and it's like, oh, maybe somebody would think of it. And Ken realized what I was doing. I don't know if he was necessarily thinking Beetlejuice, but he had the idea. Bring it into the universe a little bit. Maybe it'll happen. Well, Ken, yeah, off days. Well, you can't give him off days against the Dodgers. I don't know. Like, Alonso's seen to break out of it a little bit, so maybe the off day helped him, but Lindor needs a day off, clearly. Like, it might just be a slump, sure. But, Lindor, his swing is late. He's still good defensively. It just seems he don't have that same energy that we're usually used to seeing him. But can't send him against the Dodgers. So, but what are you going to do, right? Let me just give me a second. All right, sorry about that. All right, so with the Dodgers series, we know the Dodgers are one of the best teams in baseball. We know. We know they're the best team in baseball. Sorry, I was reading the comment. Paul. I'm sorry. I was reading some of the good comments there. RM, you know what? If his average was 30 points less and he has 50 home runs, he might have not got that base hit the other night against the Rockies to win the ball game. So, I don't know. He's fine. Look, I'd rather have Alonso hit more average and still have the possibility of hitting 40 home runs. I'd rather have that, to be honest. But with the Dodgers series, again, the Dodgers are great on paper. Mookie Betts is probably going to be the number 2 in the MVP voting behind Goldschmidt. We know how good Mookie Betts is. Justin Turner is a Mets killer. We know how good. Chris Taylor is a pain in the ass. We know how good the Dodgers are. But when the Mets play their game, and I mean play their game offensively, taking a lot of pitches, making the pitcher work, increasing the pitch count, that's when the Mets are on their game. That's when the Mets have the opponent pitcher frustrated, can't get guys out. 8, 7, 8, 9 pitch at bats. That's where the Mets need to be in this series. They need to do that. Because when you frustrate their team, you increase their pitches, you got to go into the Dodger bullpen. I don't care how good your bullpen is. When you got to take out your starters in the 5th inning, you got to use 3, possibly 4 bullpen arms in game 1 of a series, it's going to affect game 2 and game 3. We saw it when the Mets faced the Braves, even in the series that the Mets lost 3 out of 4 against the Braves. You've seen it with the Phillies as well. It's the same thing. Frank, I wouldn't necessarily agree about that. Now, granted, not many guys better than Goldschmidt and Arenado. But do you really like the Cardinals pitching staff? They're not that good. The starting rotation is not great. And again, could we stop giving the Braves credit for – you see, the problem is too many people giving them credit for last year and not this year. They're playing a couple of games, 4 or 5 games over 500 against teams over 500 this year, the Braves. And that's with them being so good record-wise. And it's the same thing with the Dodgers. The Dodgers don't have a great record against teams over 500. Then it's not like everybody's going crazy. Oh, how good is the NL West this year? Not very good, right? The Padres made every move under the sun, yet they're basically the same team that I think they are last year. Or the same team before the trade deadline. And once again, the Yankees, the Blue Jays, the Rays, we're going to keep going, the Giants, the Padres, the Cardinals, the Brewers. That's 9 teams that I just mentioned. All probably going to make the playoffs. The Mets have a better record than all of them. So, are you going to sit here on October 3rd and say, well, the Braves are better than the Mets, the Cardinals are better than the Mets, yet the Mets are probably going to have over 100 wins and most likely win the NL East and have the second or third best record in baseball, better than the Cardinals, better than the Braves, yet they're better than us? No. You see, here's the problem with fans of other teams, including Met fans sometimes. And if you're a Mets fan, you know when you go to Yankee Stadium or you're at Citifield against the Yankees. Last year, I went to Yankee Stadium. The Mets won a ball game against the Yankees. Pretty good. The Mets came back. Lonzo with the home run. Peraza with the RBI double. A couple RBIs double. Going ahead against Chapman. Mets win. Going out of Yankee Stadium. All I heard was not just 27 rings. That's always fun. You know what I heard? The Yankees have a better record than the Mets. You should shut up. Absolutely. So, using that mentality that Yankee fans have, Brave fans have, Cardinal fans have, what Frank just said, the Mets have a better record than all of them. Why doesn't it matter now? But it only matters when the Braves win a ball game. Did the Braves look good against? The Braves, you know what they looked? Human. Because guess what? They're human. AJ Minter didn't look very good yesterday. The Braves couldn't put away the Cardinals in 2 out of 3 games. They should have won the second game of the series, but they didn't. The Braves should have won yesterday. They had the opportunities. Swanson with that big home run. But guess what? It wasn't the Goldschmidts of the world. It wasn't the Arenados of the world. It was the O'Neill. Exactly, Grant. The Cardinals did their job. They helped us out. Thank God. Well, Christian, I can say the same thing for the Mets, honestly. I don't like the 5 days off having buys. I think it's going to hurt bad teams. I'm sorry. I mean, I think it's going to help really good teams. The Dodgers, the Mets. I mean, it's very hard to get up for a series when you've been off for 5 days. Yes, the Mets can set up their rotation. Everybody can rest. Nagging injuries, they can rest. But if the Mets face, say, the Cardinals in a division series, and the Cardinals win the wild card round, or the Cardinals win the wild card rounds in really good fashion. They played really well. Well, they got that momentum. I think that matters in baseball. Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's another. Well, that's a really good point, actually. The Mets still won 3 out of 4 and didn't look good in the series at all. And the Mets done that all year. You know what? The Mets didn't look good against the Dodgers in LA, yet they still split. It's funny. The Mets sometimes don't look good, yet they still find to win ball games when they have 2 hits, 3 hits. They still win series. It's crazy to me. But all we can think of and all we can put our heads on, for the Yankee fan, for the Braves fan, for the Phillies fans who decided to, all of a sudden I don't see Philly fans anymore on my streams, which is hilarious to me. The same Yankee fan, the same Braves fans last year when I was in Yankee Stadium saying, oh, we got a better record than you. Who cares about this one game? I love it. Yippee, that's awesome. And I got to get the Yippee because this is fun. And we're going to shut him down real quick, right? All right, Yippee. Congratulations. Against right-handers, wonderful. But yet he's still not going to start the first 2 games of the series. How is that going to help us? It doesn't. Again, it doesn't matter what he does. I don't like numbers. I can see with my eyes. I could see it with my eyes, my friend. I could see it with my eyes. You know, you can't represent Alonso and Trout and then throw Vogelback in the same conversation. You want to throw Vogelback in with guys that he has around the league that are on similar pedestals? Fine. All right, but that doesn't mean nothing. Guess who plays every day? Alonso. Again, it just doesn't make sense. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's not a good. You know, why is everybody on sports media, on talk shows, on Baseball Night in New York, are all talking about Vogelback? You know what? He's a better on-base guy than he is a power hitter. The Mets didn't need that. The Mets need a power hitter. The Mets need a guy who I have confidence in that could probably hit a home run. All right, you can't hit a home run every time, but you can't. You know what? When Vogelback comes up, I don't think he's going to hit a home. I don't feel confident that he's going to hit a home run because he takes too many damn pitches. I don't care about his on-base percentage. What the hell do I care that he gets on first base? He ain't stealing the base. So it's pointless to me. The whole point of Ruff and Vogelback is that they crush. I'm sorry, you shouldn't be batting 260 and crush right-handers. You should be batting 280, 290. The same goes for Ruff against lefties. You know what? J.D. Davis crushes left-handers, but he didn't this year. Dominic Smith, against right-handers. Yeah, but that doesn't mean nothing. Why do I have to look at slugging? It's the same thing. The same people that say that average doesn't matter in baseball anymore, which is hilarious to me. Average matters probably more than any other stat. I love the average stat. It's okay. It's all right. Again, he's gonna run home with Vogelback, and again, it's not bashing Vogelback like he's not. He was a breath of fresh air in this clubhouse. You know, came in with the camaraderie. He was put right into the family and welcomed with the family. He's not hitting for power. He's not. He's really not. I can assure you, he probably has a hell of a lot more walks than he does power, and the Mets don't need that. We don't need more walks. We need run producers. Vogelback's not really that. He's not. You know, you can't put him behind Alonso and have him walk. You know, nobody's scared of Vogelback. I know, but it's funny, though. Like, he's still going on slugging percentage with Vogelback. Like, Vogelback is Mike Trout, for crying out loud. Jeez. I mean, who would you rather have on your team, Mike Trout or Vogelback? Easy answer. That should stop the conversation. I'm a knucklehead. Cool. Okay. But he still doesn't play every day. That's the problem. You don't... Yippee. You're just not understanding. Pay attention. Listen. If you can't listen, read my lips. He does not play every day. Do I give a crap about his 560 slugging percentage when he's not starting against the Dodgers, against Haney and Anderson in the next two games? Doesn't help me. He does not help me in a game where he might not pinch hit until the seventh inning. That doesn't help me. It doesn't help me. Now, you would have had I would have took the beating from you, Yippee, if Daniel Vogelback was an everyday DH who crushes right-handers and is respectable against left-handers. Then I would say, you're right. I don't have an argument. But he's not starting in the first two games because there's lefties on the mound for the Dodgers. That doesn't help us. That doesn't help us at all. His 560 slugging is on the bench. That's a problem. That's why it wasn't the trade that the Mets needed consistency at the DH spot. Not a guy that we can't play against left-handers because he can't hit left-handers. That doesn't help us. I don't care if he's slugging 700 against right-handers. He's still not playing game 1 and 2. And we might see him in a pinch hit situation if the Mets are tied or ahead or 1 run ahead or 1 run behind. We might see him hitting in the 7th in game 1 and game 2. Might. He might not even play at all. Maybe the Mets are winning. Maybe the Mets are losing by a lot. And now that nice slugging percentage is on the bench. Lovely. Doesn't help. And somebody brought up something about what was it? Tom, I think that we're catching the Dodgers at a good time, end of their long East roast. Yeah, no. I would love to think that, Tom, and I understand your point, but we were catching the Yankees at the right time too. And that didn't really help the Mets beating the Yankees. So I get your point, and believe me, I'd love to be on board with you about that, but I don't think that means anything, to be honest with you. You know, the Dodgers can be saying the right thing, the same thing, right? Oh, catching the Mets at the right time. In their last, 6 games, they scored 16 runs, or what was it, 8 games and scored 16 runs? I think it's around averaging 2 a game. Well, the Dodgers can say, wow, we're catching the Mets at the right time. Their offense is not clicking. Lindor is slumping right now. You know, don't think for a second that the Dodgers didn't set up 2 lefties in this series against the Mets, because we haven't hit lefties very well at all. Then we go back to Vogelback again. He ain't playing the first 2 games. Maybe we'll get a pinch hit appearance. Maybe. But it depends on the situation. And I can assure you the Dodgers will probably bring a lefty from the pen to bring Ruff out or keep Ruff in the ballgame instead of Daniel Vogelback coming in the game. Again, Vogelback crushes righties. That's great. He's been better than I expected, to be honest with you. But he's not an everyday DH. That's a problem. Now, if you play the Dodgers in a 7-game series and they got 3 left-handers in their starting rotation, and what happens the first 5 games, you play the Dodgers with left-handers on the mound 3 out of the first 5 games. Vogelback's only played the 2 out of the 5 games. Well, I'm glad that slugging percentage is helping us right now, because it's not. And yes, the Mets could be getting the Dodgers at the right time, but the Dodgers can be saying the same thing. Dodger fans would be saying the same thing. We're catching the Mets at the right time. Their offense has not been very good probably in the last week or so. So I love that argument. I want to be on board, but I don't think so. I don't think that's a good way to look at it. I think it's just going to come down to clutch hitting, basically. Steven, the Braves are not better than the Mets. Right? Braves fans last year says, hey, look at the record. Well, look at the record. You're not. You're 3 games worse than the Mets. And I don't care about what the roster looks like. Why couldn't you beat the Cardinals? You're better than the Cardinals, right? But you didn't beat them. And you haven't beat a lot of over 500 teams this year. So, no, you're not better than the Mets right now. You could be at the end of the year. If you win the division, yeah, you'll have a better record. But you weren't the best team last year going into the playoffs, but you won a World Series. Doesn't mean nothing. At the worst case scenario, both teams are making the playoffs. Even if the Braves don't catch the Mets, you're making the playoffs. And I can assure you, nobody wants to play the Braves in the postseason. Not because they won last year, it's because they're a pretty good damn team. That's why. The Braves being a good team and the Mets being a good team has nothing to do with who's better. All that matters is who's better in the division right now and winning the division. That's it. Nobody comes on here, especially me, and said the Braves are a bad team. No. That's just stupid. You should stop watching right now if that's the case. I never said that. Beginning of the year, I had the Braves winning the division. But the Mets are 3 games better than the Braves. Now, Steven is going on the Braves are better than the Mets based on looking at the roster. I'm glad baseball is played on paper because that's not the case right now. As good as the Braves are, and I think we all can agree, the Braves and the Mets are better than the Cardinals. But the Mets beat the Cardinals. The Braves didn't. Oh, Escobar is still striking out. Lane, I don't know. Again, the Mets don't hit lefties pretty well, and the Dodgers set that up perfectly for the first 2 games of the series against lefties. We had to rely on the Cardinals, but again, you could have taken advantage of the Mets losing yesterday, and you didn't. Ralph, it's not about showing the Dodgers anything. You know what the Mets need to come in and do against the Dodgers? Just win. That's it. That's it. That's all they have to do. It has nothing to do with showing the Dodgers anything, because I can assure you, the Mets can sweep the Dodgers in this series. It means absolutely nothing in the playoffs. I want to win to maintain our lead in a division. I can care less if it's the Dodgers, the Rockies, and the Braves shouldn't care if they beat the Cardinals or beat the Nationals or beat the Marlins. Who cares? All that matters is winning ball games, no matter who it's against. The Mets couldn't beat the Rockies yesterday. I mean, Max Scherzer pitched great. Couldn't get a hit. Couldn't get a big hit. Dodgers haven't really looked good against the Marlins, but that doesn't mean that they can't beat the hell out of the Mets in this series. Of course they can. It comes down to who's going to get the big hit, who's going to pitch well, and that's basically how it goes. That's why baseball, I think we can all agree on this. Let's hope so. That's why baseball is one of the best games out of any sport. Not because some people might think it's boring. NFL is the king. NBA is fast. The difference is when a really good basketball team or football team faces a bad team, 99 times out of 100, the good team usually wins. In baseball, is it 70%, if that a good team beats a bad team every single time? No, it just doesn't happen. This series is going to be fun. There's going to be a team, the fan base, that is going to be panicking after this series. Not the Dodgers mostly, because they got the division locked. But Dodger fans, if the Mets say take 2 out of 3 and the Mets play well, Dodger fans are going to say, we got the better record. We'll see you in the playoffs. That's what they would say. Mets fans lose, Brave fans are going to say, Braves are coming. Braves are better. Mets fans are going to be panicking because we have it in our heads about the history. Because we can't embed it in our heads yet that this team is actually really good. It comes down to execution. That's what it always does. Dick, the Dodgers are great on the road. Absolutely. They don't look great against the Marlins. They're on a long East Coast trip, and I don't care how good you are. That's grueling. Really grueling. Again, I don't think it's, I already said this to a lot of people. I don't think the Mets are winning more than one game in this series. Not because I don't think the Mets can beat the Dodgers. The Mets are not playing well right now. And just because I think the pitching matchups are leaning towards the Mets a little bit, the Mets have a hard time hitting lefties. And they got 2 of them in this series. That's why I'm looking at what the Mets have done all year against lefties, what the Dodgers tend to do against basically everybody. But they also faced the Mets when the Mets didn't have Marte, McNeil, Scherzer, or DeGrom, and they couldn't take the series against the Mets in June. And yes, that was with Gonsolin being one of the best pitchers in baseball. And I don't hear Dodgers fans talking about Gonsolin and his right forearm arm strain. I don't know, that's an issue, especially a month left until the playoffs start. Yeah, Grant, that's insane. I mean, that just shows you how consistent both teams have been. Like, that's insane. That's awesome. Yeah. Look, I think Lugo is probably the only guy that I could see pitch into his capabilities. Out of Vino, I just don't trust in big spots. He's never done in his career in big spots with the Yankees or the Red Sox. Give up big home runs in the postseason. Trevor May, no. No. I don't trust Trevor May. Diaz is Diaz. I think he's going to be fine. And I can't wait for Timmy Trumpet tomorrow to be in Citifield for Diaz entrance in the ninth, if it happens. That doesn't sit well with me at all. Do I expect Mookie to kill us? Absolutely. He's the MVP candidate every year. Why wouldn't I think Betts would be a pain in the ass? Oh, I just lost my spot. Damn it. Oh, yeah. I do want to talk about that. It was great that the Mets retired Willie Mays' number. I mean, it's about time. I mean, Willie Mays is and was New York. All right? To say, hey, kid, is New York. I mean, all the years with the Giants. And, unfortunately, National League Baseball was lost when the Dodgers and Giants skipped New York and went to California. Crushed a lot of fan bases, a lot of fans that were fans of the Dodgers and the Giants. And guess what? A lot of those old Giants and Dodger fans became Met fans because they love National League Baseball. Dodger fans weren't rooting for the Yankees, and Giant fans weren't rooting for the Yankees either. So when the Mets came in 62, they became National League fans, and the Mets were that team to fill that void. And great that the Mets did that. 24 would never be worn again in the Mets uniform. Thank God. Grant, I honestly think this team is better than 2006. It has a better pitching rotation. And I think the lineup, not power-wise, but I think that lineup is more consistent. But I get your point. They haven't been as good as 2006, that's for sure. Oh, rough. Oh, yeah, Dick. I mean, they got, 87 wins, if I'm not mistaken, the Dodgers? 88, excuse me. 88, yeah, of course they can. But again, what does that really mean in the postseason? Absolutely nothing. I mean, talk to the Mariners. Would they want to lose 20 less games and make the playoffs and win the World Series? Or have the best regular season record ever and not win the World Series? Yeah, I can't stand Trevor May. I cannot. Just looking at the comments, guys, and then I'm going to end this stream, and enjoy my day off. I know. Surprising, right? And I need some rest. I got some really good sleep the last day and a half, and I'm shocked. And I look awake. Yeah, Rocky, it was a great Old Timers Day. I actually got the Old Timers hat that cost me $50. And it's not even a fitted. They didn't even sell fitted Old Timers Day hats. I was annoyed about that. But I did get Old Timers Day cups. And I also got some game used dirt from, I don't know if you guys can see it, but you can't. NLCS Game 2, 10/18/2015, right there. And Grant, I got you. I put on a little something extra that I'm not telling you about that I'm giving you so you can display it anywhere you want. So I got you, Grant. And oh, by the way, members, check the video. If you haven't checked the giveaway video, please do. It's posted. It's been posted for a few hours now. Again, there's a winner and there's a runner-up. The winner gets 72 hours to respond and email me so you can give me your information so I can send you the mystery box with a couple of things in it. So make sure you check out the video, members. And Grant, you already know I'm sending you the stuff for your bar. I put some extra crap in there. You'll like it. Trust me. Ken? No. Mrs. Met don't date anybody in Florida. Sorry. But yeah, once again, guys, members, if you're in the stream right now and you're listening and you're working or whatever you're doing, you can't type, please check the video up. It's up starting from today. So today it's going to be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. The winner has to email me by the end of day Thursday to get the mystery box. If not, the runner-up will. So I did the winner and the runner-up. So please check out that video. And everybody hopefully will be enjoying that video. It was kind of fun doing a video. I had a little bit more theatrics in the giveaway video. So hopefully you enjoy it. Let's go. With Old Timers Day, it was more than I expected. And it was just even better than I expected. I got to the ballpark at 1:30. I didn't leave until midnight. And yes, I still went to work at night. So it was a long day at Citifield. I got a ton of pictures. I'm going to post them all. Well, not all, but most of them to the members. So you guys can use them, have them. You know, I know a lot of people were watching it on TV who couldn't be at the game. So at least you can have them for memory's sake. I have a couple of – I have my professional camera out, taking big time pictures. I got a nice picture of the Willie Mays retirement number. All that stuff. Michael, you got to check out the video. I'm not going to tell you. So there's so many pictures that I'm going to post. I posted some already just in the channel. But members, I'm going to give you, I'm setting up nice little phone backgrounds that you can put on your phone, screensavers and all that. So with that said, guys, thank you for tuning in to Mets Talk Live. Talked about the Dodgers preview with the two lefties, with Hanley and Anderson on the mound for the first two games of this series against the Mets. And you got Walker and DeGrom in 1 and 2. Mets haven't hit lefties very well this year. Ruff is going to get the start over Vogel back in the first two games because, well, that's what the whole point of the platoon DH that Epler wanted or decided to do. So, first two games, Ruff is the DH, probably behind Pete Alonso, which I don't agree with. But with that said, I mean, with the Old Timers Day before I go, Stephen J. Hook pitch and Steve Dillon and Steve Henderson, 70 years old, swinging the bat. I mean, it was amazing. And J. Hook, if you guys don't know, I did not notice. I'm not even going to lie to you. I had to look who the hell J. Hook was. He had the first win in Mets history as a pitcher. So that was pretty cool. But it was so much fun. I had an awesome time. I probably took over 400 to 500 pictures. I probably spent $200 or $300 on old timer stuff. I got the Mets magazine, which give me a second. Whoops. Got the Mets magazine for Old Timers Day exclusive. I got the Old Timers pin, Old Timers patch. I got everything I needed for my collection. And Grant, I took care of you as well. Yes, Steve Dillon, 79 years old, throwing bullets to the plate. It was beautiful. Parasite was at Urza. Okay, yeah, I was unfortunately alive. But let me see what you're saying, Roberto. And for the simple reason that they can't stand when another team is much better than they are. I know that for experience. Exactly, I agree. Look, Brave fans aren't used to the Mets being good. They usually don't have a challenge in the NL East, right? The Nationals haven't been the last couple of years. Ever since their World Series, the Phillies are still the Phillies. They haven't been challenged in the NL East for a while. And the Dodgers this year have not been challenged. And Yankees, honestly, the Blue Jays should be better than they have been this year. And let's be honest, guys. 3 teams, like if I'm not mistaken, let me just check my facts for a second. Just give me a second. I believe I'm right, but I want to double check. Okay. So the Braves and the Mets have a better record than the Yankees, right? Mets have a 4-game lead on the Yankees. Braves have 3. The big-time New York Yankees are only 6 games better than the Phillies. If the Phillies were in the Yankees division, they'd be in second place right now. So, it goes to show you that it's kind of sad that the fact that the Mets don't get credit nationally because of their history, which makes no sense. But yet everybody all of a sudden gives credit to the Braves, who finally won a World Series since the 90s. But yet they look back on their history and say Braves are better than the Mets. Yeah, Doc didn't look good. Like unfortunately, still going through his drug issues still. But I know John Stern didn't look good. But these guys, they're old. He's old. I get it. And John Stern's not that old. I know I think he had cancer and stuff. But what are you gonna? Yeah. And you know what? I wish that the Minnesota Twins would win their division and they have to face the Yankees in the NLDS. Because I think this would be the time the Twins beat the Yankees, honestly. Yeah, the past doesn't matter. No, we're not used to winning. And that's why when I talked about this last week, Met fans, you can be confident without being cocky. Met fans shouldn't be cocky at all. You can be confident. That might come off cocky, but be confident in this team. This team gave you no reason to not be confident. Not saying that this team's going to win a World Series. I don't know, obviously. But you think Dodger fans are sitting there, and if they're if they're looking in the mirror and being truthful 100%, Dodgers are going to win the World Series. Do we want to look at their history? If it wasn't for a pandemic season, they probably wouldn't have a World Series. They choked every year. Every year. Same thing for the Braves until last year. That's why I gave the Braves all the respect in the world. But don't bring up last year and make it sound like it means anything this year, because it doesn't. You think the Mets are playing the Braves and go like, damn, we're playing the World Series champions. We don't have a shot. Absolutely not. So with that said, guys, thank you for tuning in to Mets Talk Live. Members, please check out the video for the giveaway to see who wins. You get 72 hours if you're the winner to claim the prize and the giveaway and the mystery box. If not, the runner-up will win. Once again, guys, appreciate all the support. I'm going to do a Mets pregame live before the game tomorrow. And I'm probably going to do the Dodger game on Mets Dodgers on Thursday, most likely. So pregame tomorrow before the game around 4 o'clock or so while I'm driving to Citifield. And Thursday, most likely, doing a live stream for the game for the Mets versus Dodgers. Once again, guys, I really appreciate all the support as always. Another Mets Talk Live in the books. Let's hope the Mets have a really good bounce back series where they play Mets baseball against the Dodgers. Everybody have a good night. Let's go Mets. Let's beat those Dodgers. See you next time, guys.